Hey there, I'm Dr. William Lee, and I have to tell you something that might surprise you. Everything you've been told about getting older and gaining weight around your midsection might be completely backwards. I'm talking about this frustrating belly fat that seems to stick around no matter what you do, the sleep problems that keep you up at night, and that constant feeling of being stressed and anxious. You know that feeling? That tension in your shoulders, that racing mind at 2 in the morning, that exhaustion that doesn't go away even after you sleep? Well, I'm about to reveal to you something that changed my life and the lives of hundreds of my patients over 70. And it starts with something you probably pass by in the grocery store every single week without even thinking twice about it. Now, before I tell you what this incredible fruit is, I want you to understand something really important. When you turn 70, your body doesn't just age like wine, getting better with time. No, something happens. Your cortisol levels start going haywire. That's your stress hormone, and when it's elevated, everything else falls apart. Your metabolism slows down, your belly becomes this dumping ground for fat, and your sleep becomes absolutely terrible. You lie in bed, you're restless, you wake up at 3 in the morning, and then you can't fall back asleep. It's maddening, right? And most people think this is just what getting older means. But I'm here to tell you that's not true, and it's not your fault that nobody's been talking about this simple solution. Let me paint you a picture. I had a patient named Robert who came to see me about 3 years ago. Robert was 73 and he was completely frustrated. He'd spent the last decade gaining about 40 pounds around his middle. His clothes didn't fit. He felt self-conscious. But here's the thing that really bothered him. He couldn't sleep. He'd be in bed by 9 o'clock, and by 2 in the morning, he'd be wide awake, his mind racing, thinking about everything from his kids to his finances to whether he turned off the stove. His cortisol levels were through the roof. We checked his blood work, and his stress hormone levels were like those of someone going through a constant crisis. Even though Robert had a stable job, a great family, and no major stressors in his life, his body was just manufacturing stress hormones at night, keeping him in this constant state of fight or flight. Robert had tried everything. He'd done the trendy diets, he'd joined a gym and worked with a trainer. He'd even tried some of those prescription sleep medications. Nothing worked. In fact, the prescription sleep medications made him feel worse during the day. He was irritable, foggy, and honestly, he was starting to lose hope. That's when I introduced him to what I call the golden opportunity fruit, and within 8 weeks, I'm not exaggerating here, Robert's sleep completely changed. His cortisol levels dropped dramatically, and over the course of 4 months, he lost 17 pounds specifically from his belly area, and he wasn't even trying that hard. So what is this magical fruit? It's the kiwi fruit. Yes, that small fuzzy green fruit that's been around forever. But here's what most people don't know. There's actual, legitimate, peer-reviewed scientific research that shows eating 2 to 3 kiwis before bed can dramatically improve your sleep quality, reset your cortisol levels, and actually help your body start burning belly fat more efficiently. This isn't some internet myth or some fad. This is real science, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how it works and why it's especially powerful for people over 70. Let me break down the science because this is where it gets really fascinating. Inside the kiwi fruit, there are several compounds working together in perfect harmony. First, there's serotonin. Now, you've probably heard of serotonin as this happy chemical, right? Well, it's also incredibly important for regulating your sleep-wake cycle. Kiwis contain a significant amount of serotonin, and when you eat them, especially in the evening, You're literally giving your brain the raw materials it needs to produce more melatonin, which is the hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep. But that's just the beginning. The second major component is something called folate, and also B vitamins. These B vitamins are absolutely crucial for managing your stress response. When your B vitamin levels are low, your body becomes much more reactive to stress. Your cortisol spikes higher, stays elevated longer, and the whole cascade of negative effects follows. Kiwis are loaded with folate and B vitamins, especially B6, and when you're over 70, your ability to absorb and utilize these vitamins from food actually decreases, so you need to be intentional about getting them. Kiwis are one of the most bioavailable sources of these nutrients. But wait, there's more. Kiwis also contain something called inositol, which is a type of carbohydrate that acts like a natural sedative. It helps calm your nervous system without any of the side effects of medications. And they contain polyphenols, which are powerful antioxidants that help reduce inflammation throughout your body. Now, why does inflammation matter when we're talking about belly fat? Well, when your body is in a chronic inflammatory state, your metabolism doesn't work properly. Your cells don't respond to insulin the way they should. Your body wants to store fat, especially around your midsection, because it thinks it's under threat. It's a survival mechanism, but in modern life it just makes you gain weight. Let me tell you about another one of my patients, Margaret. Margaret was 74, and she was dealing with what she called the menopausal belly situation, even though she'd been through menopause 20 years earlier. She couldn't understand why the weight just kept accumulating around her middle. Her cortisol levels were elevated, her inflammation markers were through the roof, and she hadn't slept through the night in probably 15 years. She'd wake up multiple times, and then during the day she was exhausted and cranky. Her family could barely stand to be around her, and she felt terrible about it. It was affecting her quality of life, her relationships, everything. When I explained the Kiwi protocol to her, she was skeptical. I mean, it sounds too simple, right? One fruit? But Margaret decided to try it. She started eating 2 kiwis every single night about an hour before bed. At first, nothing dramatic happened, but after about 2 weeks, something shifted. She started sleeping a little bit better. By week 4, she was sleeping through the night most nights. Her energy improved dramatically. And here's what really got her excited. After 3 months, she'd lost 12 pounds, and nearly all of it came from her belly. She went from a size 16 to a size 12, and more importantly, she felt like herself again. Now, here's the important part about how kiwis specifically target belly fat and lower cortisol. When your cortisol is elevated, especially in the evening and at night, your body is in this state of vigilance. It's releasing glucose into your bloodstream. It's increasing your appetite for sugary and fatty foods, and it's telling your body to hold on to fat, particularly around your midsection. This is the stubborn belly fat that nobody can lose. But when you normalize your cortisol through better sleep and the direct compounds in kiwis, your body stops being in this defensive mode. Your metabolism actually works the way it's supposed to. Your insulin sensitivity improves, and your body becomes willing to let go of that belly fat. The sleep component is absolutely critical here. When you don't sleep well, your cortisol doesn't decrease the way it naturally should. Normally, your cortisol should be high in the morning to wake you up and help you get going, and then it should gradually decrease throughout the day, hitting its lowest point around midnight, which allows you to sleep deeply. But when you're not sleeping well, this rhythm gets completely disrupted. your cortisol stays elevated. It's like your body thinks it's always under threat. And when your cortisol is elevated, your appetite increases, your cravings for unhealthy food increase, and your belly becomes the dumping ground for excess calories. The kiwis reset this whole rhythm. By improving your sleep quality, you're actually allowing your cortisol to drop the way it's supposed to. And the compounds in kiwis, the serotonin, the inositol, the polyphenols, they all work together to make sure that when your head hits that pillow, you fall asleep faster and you stay asleep longer. We're talking about deeper, more restorative sleep. And when your sleep improves, everything else improves. Your mood improves, your immune system gets stronger, your metabolism works better, and that stubborn belly fat finally starts to move. Let me give you some practical information about how to use this. You want to eat 2 to 3 kiwis about an hour before bed. The timing is important because you want the compounds to have time to work through your system before you're trying to sleep. But you also want them in your system right as you're getting ready to go to bed. I usually recommend eating them right after dinner or as part of your evening routine. Now here's something important. It does matter whether you eat the skin or not. The kiwi skin contains a significant amount of the beneficial compounds, so if you can tolerate it, eat the whole thing. If you don't like the texture, you can peel it. It's not a deal breaker. The fruit inside still has plenty of the good stuff. One thing I always tell my patients is consistency is everything. You can't eat kiwis for a few days and expect your cortisol to completely reset. Your nervous system needs time to recalibrate. Most people start noticing improvements in their sleep within 2 to 3 weeks. Some people notice it sooner, but give it at least a month before you decide if it's working for you or not. Your body has probably been in this stressed, elevated cortisol state for a long time. It needs time to remember how to relax again. Now, I also want to address something really important. If you're taking certain medications, you should check with your doctor before making major dietary changes. Kiwis are known to interact with a few medications, particularly certain blood thinners and some blood pressure medications. So have that conversation with your healthcare provider. But for most people, kiwis are incredibly safe, incredibly affordable, and incredibly effective. I also want to mention that while kiwis are powerful, they work best as part of a broader lifestyle approach. You can't eat kiwis at night and then spend all day stressed out, eating a terrible diet and not moving your body and expect miraculous results. Kiwis are a tool in your toolkit, but they're an incredibly powerful tool. They're the foundation that allows the other things you do, your exercise, your diet, your stress management, to actually work properly. One of the things I've noticed with my patients over 70 is that so many of them have given up on the idea that their body can change. They think, well, I'm old, I'm just supposed to be heavier, I'm just supposed to not sleep well, I'm just supposed to feel stressed, and that's just not true. Your body is incredibly adaptable at any age. Yes, your metabolism is slower than it was when you were 20. Yes, your hormones are different, but you can still make dramatic changes. You can still lose belly fat. You can still sleep better. You can still lower your stress. It just requires knowing what to do and then actually doing it consistently. Let me tell you about one more patient because I think this story really illustrates what's possible. His name was David, and he was 76 when he came to see me. David had been overweight for about 30 years. He'd tried everything, and I mean everything. Every diet you can think of, every supplement, every piece of exercise equipment. He'd spent thousands of dollars trying to lose weight and improve his health, and nothing had worked. He was tired, depressed, overweight, and he'd basically accepted that this was just how his life was going to be. When I introduced him to the Kiwi protocol, he was polite but not hopeful. He said, "Doc, I've tried everything. One fruit isn't going to change 30 years of weight gain." But I asked him to just give it a try for 60 days. Just 60 days. David started eating kiwis every night before bed. He also started taking a 20-minute walk most days, and he started paying a little bit more attention to his diet. Nothing radical, just basic, sensible changes. But the kiwis created this foundation. They improved his sleep, which gave him more energy, which made him more likely to go on that walk. And better sleep also meant he wasn't waking up exhausted and reaching for sugar and caffeine all day long. After 60 days, David had lost 18 pounds. After 6 months, he'd lost 40 pounds. A year into it, he'd lost 60 pounds. And more than the weight loss, the transformation in how he felt was incredible. He had energy again. He was sleeping through the night. His knees didn't hurt anymore. He could play with his grandkids without getting winded. He was happy again. And it all started with 2 kiwis before bed. That's not an exaggeration. That was the catalyst that set everything else in motion. Here's what I want you to understand about aging and metabolism. When you're over 70, your body doesn't work the same way it did when you were younger. Your growth hormone production decreases. Your testosterone or estrogen levels drop. Your metabolism slows down. Your muscle mass decreases. All of these things are normal parts of aging. But the problem is most people don't adjust their lifestyle to account for these changes. They keep eating the same way. They keep sleeping poorly. They keep being stressed. And then they wonder why they're gaining weight and feeling terrible. The secret is not to fight these changes, but to work with them. And that starts with understanding that your hormones, particularly your stress hormones and your sleep hormones, are the foundation of everything. If your cortisol is elevated and your sleep is poor, no amount of diet and exercise is going to solve your weight problem. But if you address those hormones, if you lower your cortisol and improve your sleep, then your body becomes willing to respond to diet and exercise. It's like you're finally working with your body instead of against it. This is why kiwis are so powerful for people over 70. They directly address the 2 hormonal issues that create the most problems for older adults: elevated cortisol and poor sleep. And when you fix those, everything else becomes possible. Your metabolism improves. Your appetite regulation improves. Your body composition improves. Your energy improves. Your mood improves. I want to be really clear about something. I'm not saying kiwis are magic. I'm saying they're a tool with legitimate scientific backing that addresses a real problem in the bodies of people over 70. And they're accessible, affordable, and safe. You can find them in any grocery store year-round. They cost about $1 per fruit. There are no side effects. There are no complicated protocols. You just eat 2 or 3 before bed consistently, and you give your body time to respond. Now, one thing I always recommend is keeping a sleep journal. Write down when you're eating the kiwis, how many you're eating, and how you're sleeping each night. Rate your sleep quality on a scale of 1 to 10. This serves 2 purposes. First, it helps you see your own progress. You might not notice the changes day to day, but when you look back at your sleep quality a month ago versus now, you'll see a dramatic difference. Second, it helps you figure out the optimal amount and timing for your body. Some people do best with 2 kiwis. Some people need 3. Some people like to eat them right after dinner. Some people like to eat them an hour before bed. Your journal will help you figure out what works best for your unique body. I also want to mention that if you're dealing with severe sleep apnea or other serious sleep disorders, kiwis alone probably aren't going to solve your problem. You need to get that diagnosed and treated by a sleep specialist. but for the vast majority of people over 70 who are dealing with what I call lifestyle sleep problems, poor sleep due to stress, poor habits, and elevated cortisol, kiwis can be incredibly effective. The same goes for belly fat. If you're significantly overweight and dealing with metabolic issues like diabetes, you need to work with your healthcare provider. But for people who are dealing with stubborn belly fat despite reasonable diet and exercise efforts, which is the case for so many of my patients over 70, the Kiwi Protocol can be exactly what you need to finally break through that plateau and start seeing results. Let me also mention that there are different varieties of kiwis. The most common are the green kiwis and the gold kiwis. Both are excellent. The gold kiwis are a bit sweeter and slightly easier to digest. The green kiwis are a bit more tart and have slightly more of some of the beneficial compounds. Either one will work beautifully. I don't want anyone to think, oh, I can only eat one specific type. No, find the one you like and stick with it. Another thing I recommend is not eating kiwis hours before bed. If you eat them too early, the benefit isn't as strong. You want them in your system right as you're preparing to sleep. So if you go to bed at 10 o'clock, eat your kiwis around 9 o'clock. If you go to bed at 11, eat them around 10. This timing matters because of how the compounds interact with your circadian rhythm. I also want to address one more thing that I see a lot with my patients. They get excited about the kiwis, they start eating them, they see good results, and then they stop doing it after a few months thinking, okay, I'm fixed now. I don't need to keep doing this. But here's the reality. Your cortisol elevation and your sleep problems didn't develop overnight. They developed over years and years, and your body needs ongoing support to maintain these improvements. Think of eating kiwis like brushing your teeth. You don't brush your teeth for a week and then expect clean teeth for the rest of your life. You brush them every day because that's what it takes to maintain them. The same is true with these fruits. You need to make it a consistent, ongoing part of your routine. That said, once you've been on the Kiwi Protocol for several months and your sleep improves, once your cortisol normalizes, and once you start losing belly fat, the changes do become more stable. You might not need to eat them every single night for the rest of your life. But I would recommend eating them at least 4 to 5 nights a week as a maintenance approach. And if you ever notice your sleep getting worse again, you know exactly what to do. You go back to every night and things improve again. The other thing I want to emphasize is that this is not a quick fix. It's not like taking a pill and instantly feeling better. But it's also not months and months of waiting to see results. Most people start noticing better sleep within 2 to 3 weeks. Cortisol levels typically normalize within 4 to 6 weeks based on my patient's experience and the research. And noticeable belly fat loss usually starts happening within 2 to 3 months. These timelines matter because they help you understand that you're not wasting your time. Real changes are happening even if you don't see them all at once. I want to end with this. If you're over 70, if you're dealing with stubborn belly fat, if you're not sleeping well, if you're feeling stressed and anxious all the time, you do not have to accept this as your new normal. Your body is capable of change. Your sleep can improve. Your cortisol can normalize. Your belly fat can decrease. And it might just start with something as simple as eating 2 kiwis before bed every night. Try this for 60 days. Give it a real, honest 60-day trial. Eat your kiwis consistently. Pay attention to your sleep. Keep that journal. And then notice what changes. I think you're going to be surprised. I think you're going to remember what it feels like to sleep through the night. I think you're going to have more energy. I think you're going to see your clothes fit a little bit better. And I think you're going to realize that getting older doesn't mean accepting weight gain and poor sleep as inevitable parts of life. This is Dr. William Lee, and I hope this information helps you reclaim your health and your sleep. If you found this valuable, please hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below with your thoughts or your own experiences, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.